Going live. Hey everyone. I think we're live. Not 100% sure. It says so in the corner. But my name is Levi Crenshaw. If you know me on X, and I'll try to remember that so I don't confuse people and call myself Crenshaw. But we're here tonight. We're talking with a couple guys. Dio, if you saw last week's video, he's returned because he thinks I'm cool.
You're a good dude, man. You're cool.
And we got with us Stephen Barone, right?
Hey,
Barone.
Awesome. Yeah.
And he's just
Thanks for inviting me tonight. Appreciate it.
Oh, no problem. Yeah, talking to you on X and stuff. It's like this guy's got some stuff, in common, and it'd be just cool to talk and see what you're about. And but yeah, we're going to be talking about. He's got a campaign starting for a comic, which I should have had pulled up and I forgot. But
no worries.
But let's just start off with let us know a little bit about you and where you're from, what your comic book history is.
Yeah, so I'm in Portland, Oregon. I lived here for about 22-ish years, 23-ish years. But I'm originally an East Coaster. Grew up in Rhode Island is where I spent the first 21 years of my life. Went to college there, and when I was done graduating, I then I don't know if you want my whole life history, but no. But yeah, originally was on the East Coast for a while, then was in the Mid-Atlantic for a while. And then when I was living in Maryland for a bit, but then after Maryland, I came out here to Oregon. I pretty much was part of the 90s comic boom as a kid, especially in middle school.
Yeah.
That was the one sort of obsession I had, was just collecting comics.
What caught your attention first? What was the first thing that book wise you were like, I'm in?
Sadly, I was kind of into the loser characters. It was partly it was all the new characters that was coming out, so I was trying to catch number one issues of things like that. So everything that was a number one issue at the time. So it was Darkhawk and Sleepwalker and New Warriors and things like that. And some the lesser publishers that was coming out. There was was it Dark Domain and things like that. Think of the publisher, but that the Plasma Warriors and stuff. That kind of stuff.
Did you happen in your weird character searching, did you happen to run across the radioactive mutant? No, Miami Vice. That's the one I'm thinking of. Miami Hamster Vice. Hamster Vice was the name of the comic. Did you ever run across that?
No, I knew of there was the spoof, the Miami Mice.
This was
I've seen it since, right? But not at the time, because a lot of which is weird, because at the time, even living in the suburbs in Rhode Island, there was probably at least 3 comic book stores that I could walk to from my house. Not to mention others that there was baseball card shops as well, just strictly baseball card shops, and then there was a mix of comic shops and baseball card shops. And so just in walking distance from my house, there was 3 or 4 places I could go to.
Nice.
And this was just the burbs too, so it's not I was in Providence, which was the only city, where there was probably maybe a little bit more.
Yeah,
because everyone was just trying to get in on the boom, I guess, which is crazy, because after all that, most of those places did close. Or the guys did something else or died, because a lot of them were older guys running the shops. So some of them actually had been there before even the boom, especially the baseball card shops had been there for a long time, probably even started out in the 70s, and lasted until the 90s, and probably at the end of the 90s a lot of them closed because the guys just died off. But so I was buying all that stuff, especially the Image stuff when that popped. I bought every Image title you could think of, every card series you can think of that came out. I bought all the cards.
Were
And so,
were you partial to any of the artists and you know, like you had your Larson, McFarlane, they all had their separate parts of Image. Was there any that you were like, that's my crew?
yeah, like I think it was like always my thing to just kind of go with the things that were slightly less popular because it was just like, oh, everybody likes that, so I'm gonna like this thing, which might actually suck. But it's just like, I want to be the oddball out, so I was gonna go with the thing that might have been a little less. But it's kind of like what we were talking about before, though, like before we started, that like I wasn't paying attention too much about like the artist and writers.
Oh, yeah.
Just more about like, oh, do I like these images? Do I like this story? Do I just like the character? And it wasn't until, like you said before, they actually became like celebrities did I kind of maybe start paying a little bit more attention to. But it was just kind of like like movies, like it's never like an actor sells me a movie. It's just like, do I really want to see this movie or not? Dependent, it doesn't matter who's in it or not. So that I was kind of that way with the comic books too. It's just like I don't really care who wrote it or drew it. I just I either like this comic book or I don't like it, or I'm attracted to it or I'm not attracted to it. But yeah, I mean, like, I guess I did like kind of like the Jim Lee stuff though a little bit because I was collecting like the the X-Men was like the hottest thing at the time, and did like the X-Force stuff because that was just hot at the time too, and it's just like, and there's obviously the dumb kid part of me like, wow, this stuff's gonna be worth money too. That X-Force stuff's really hot, big money. So, but
I had we talked last week that's my buddy. I got introduced into comics because he was all about he'd buy 3 copies of everything, and it's like I was jealous,
right.
But only because I wanted to read them. I didn't care there, and now we're probably in the same boat with comic money. So
yeah. I mean, it's cool though. I mean, like I actually still have most of the stuff. For some reason, like my mom was pretty cool about like just keeping my stuff even after like I moved out, and so
That's
like,
awesome.
She was really cool about that. And I mean, just this past summer, I brought home a lot of it, and she mailed some of it too, And I mean, obviously none of it's like valuable, but it's still cool to have, like, But like, I realized like, oh, I got like the whole like Nightfall collection and stuff like that, and the Superman Die series, like all the Doomsday stuff, and it's just cool to like re-see it,
and to hold it, I'm guessing.
Yeah. And just to realize like, wow, it had just been in this basement for like 20 plus years and it's still like in good shape. So like, I was pretty happy about that, even if it's not worth that, valuable, it's still cool. Like, because now I can keep it and give it to my, son when he's older if he wants it, so.
Yeah. I'll be looking online, going, looking at classic comics, or you see a cover of something that on X, something you had back in the day, and it really makes me wish I still had that to hold in my hand. There's something, to flip through those pages. So yeah, I must feel good to hold it, to remember when you got it and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, there was definitely some like odd ones too, and just like, oh wow, like I actually remember buying this random issue of I don't know, like Shadowhawk and things like that, of just, random ones, and even even found some like odd ones too, like I have like this promo thing for the Leonard Nimoy thing he did, that comic book series.
Tech.
No, not Tech War. Tech World's oh god, it's kind of like these animal things from space, but it was like this weird promo card that like I found too, and it's like, oh, this is pretty cool, just this is random thing. So just that kind of stuff too is pretty cool just to find. And I even found some like action figures. I still had some X-Men action figures and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool. I wasn't able to ship those are still back east, but but yeah, I was able to bring home like the whole first Marvel series cards, series 1 cards of Marvel. So that's pretty cool. I know I had like maybe series 2 or 3, but I think like I'd kind of threw those around. So those are gone, but it was cool at least to have series 1 again.
Yeah. Like hollow foils. Do you have the the special cards.
Yeah, I think whatever there is for like series 1, yeah, is like 4 or 5 of those. So yeah,
I think those were like the holographic ones, and then they kind of got less expensive as they went along, and then they ended up just being like foil or something.
Yeah, yeah. But this is still pretty cool. So yeah, I mean that's pretty cool. But in terms of like, I mean, I think in terms of like the 90s, like yeah, I collected like all throughout junior high, and I think like high school I started like slowing down, just because like got more into music, girls, that kind of deal, and like the comic book shops kind of like started disappearing. And one of the better comic book shops, kind of like the guy who ran it, became like an electrician, and he sold it to like these really douchey people, and so it was just so the kind of the glam, the glitz and glamour of it was gone. Oh, the fun part of it was gone. It's like the guy who would be like, hey, you're in here today, and then you'd go in and they just like look at you stone cold and would even say a word to you as buying something. It's like, this sucks. So there was that aspect of it too.
The community sort of dwindled when everyone lost the excitement about the excitement.
yeah, basically, yeah. So I mean, and at the time, and I was just kind of getting a little bit bored with it too. At the time, as I was getting older too, because like I said, like once I think I started driving and hanging out with more people, because like comic books were cool when it was just more like, well, I don't have that many friends, I don't have that much to do. It's just I was like, all right, comics are a cool thing, and
I would say I understand, but I don't, because I had no friends.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I had no friends in junior high, that's for sure. At the time it was a junior high, so it was like 7th, 8th, 9th grade, and then my high school was 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. You don't see that too much anymore, but things kind of picked up a little bit for me in high school, anyways. But
so since then, what's brought you back to end up trying to start up your own comic and write something?
Yeah, I mean, I've been writing now for quite a while. Like, it's just been something I've been doing. I started off like writing screenplays, and I've written a few of those, several of those. But just, trying to. Are you watching the UFC?
Sorry, bro. Yeah.
I got it kind of playing on the side myself. Even though I'm kind of illegally streaming it, so it's probably not gonna play too well for me anyways.
Yeah, I'm not illegally streaming it. I'm watching it on privatemedia.tv.org.
Oh yeah.
Wink, wink, Uncle Dana.
Oh yeah, right. I mean, I'm not illegally streaming it. This happens to be on my computer. No.
Exactly. It's awesome.
But I was gonna say, yeah, so I've like been writing for like a number of years, and I started off just writing screenplays. But obviously, like to get like to do anything with screenplays is just, impossible unless like you have an agent and an industry, or if you just a really go-getter to actually do something. So it's just kind of like, well, maybe I'm just kind of wasting my time writing screenplays. So then I started writing short stories, and as I started writing more and more, I was getting things published here and there, which was cool. But in terms of like short stories, like and getting them published, it's kind of a pain in the butt, basically, because it's like whether you get like accepted or declined, it's a long wait period, and a lot of times what they're looking for is just stuff that is coming out of like universities in terms of like what they're teaching in the university. So whatever's like hot at that moment, in terms of what's teaching, is what they're kind of looking for. And so you can wait up to like a year plus just to hear that you've been declined. So it's just like, well, it kind of gets lame after a while, just waiting around to hear that a year just to find out they're not going to take your story. So, but I've had several pieces published, but what happened though with this particular story of mine, it was a flash fiction piece that was published some years ago in an online journal, and part of that piece kind of stuck with me. I was like, oh, maybe I can expand this into a longer story, which I did. and I expanded into what is, my comic book, the Dirty, the Filthy, and the Dead, and that's the name of the short story, and it's about like 7,500 words long, the story. But at that length, that's kind of hard to get a short story published because it's a little too long, but it's also too short to be like a novella. And so I was having a hard time like looking for like horror journals that publish horror stories at that length. Usually most like journals, even horror journals, will publish up to maybe 5,000 words. And so this was over that limit. And even the ones that would publish up to like that long of a story were just like, oh, this has got swearing in it. It's like, okay, you're publishing horror stories, like, and one was even like, oh, this has got like violence in it that we don't like. Just like, all right, like, so even that was like getting frustrating. But like it was right after the pandemic, I started getting into comic books again. I started reading. I was listening to Comic Tropes, the YouTube channel. For some reason, I just started listening to that or watching his YouTube channel. I don't know how, it was just kind of like just happened. And he started talking about was it Nice House on the Lake, that Tinian.
Not sure.
Yeah, well, it's a DC Black Label book, Nice House on the Lake, and right now they're doing Nice House on the Ocean or something, or by the Sea. But he was like, oh, this is like the best book of the year right now or something. And he's like, oh, it's very adult and da-da-da. So I was like, oh, all right, let me check this out. Maybe I'll get back into comic books again. And I started reading that. I was like, oh, this is kind of like horror adult. It's like, maybe like I'll turn this story into, a comic book. So, that kind of got me into the idea of like, just at least with this story, going the route of comic books, thinking like, well, this is like something I could publish myself. Cause like, you can't, you could publish a short story on your own, but it's basically like doing your own blog or something, or, publishing on Facebook or something. But, it's like, I don't really, it's like, it might as well turn into something else. Plus, I'm a pretty visual thinker anyways. So that's when I started looking for like artists or illustrators.
Yeah. I saw that, the video you posted, and it looked pretty good. I actually, looked really nice, the art done.
Yeah. I got lucky with finding. So the illustrator I'm working with is his name's Miguel Galindo. He's in Mexico, but I was working, like I did get like, well, what is going to be the cover B and like my logo through someone off of Fiverr, because that's just when I was like originally looking. That's just one of the places like, oh, okay, there's this Fiverr place. I hadn't heard of it before. The guy I did use for that, I mean, he was one of the better people on there, but it was end up pretty pricey. Plus, it's like, oh, do you want to tip them and stuff like that? It's like, oh, great. Now it's like if I got a tip for every page and stuff, that's going to add up to be quite a bit. And plus, like just communicating like that way through their website, kind of like eBay. It's like you just got to use the site. You're not supposed to share your email and this and that. It's like I didn't want to be kind of like pigeonholed just into using that site for communicating.
Yeah.
And so that's when I started looking again. And actually, Dio, I was actually asking you about
digital webbing.
Looking, and looking for illustrators, and so you kind of helped out with that, which was good.
It's a bummer, man, because that website I was talking about, the guy who created it, I said it was coming back, and it was like one of the coolest websites ever. It's where I found my letterer. I found an inker on there when I had an inker at one point in time. And it was just really straightforward, and it was just a bunch of artists and comic guys who were just looking for work, and a lot of people really found collaborators on that site. And I don't know why it closed down, but like I said, he said it's coming back, so hopefully it does at some point in time, because it was just so much easier to find somebody on that website than something like you said, like Fiverr or this and that, and you could just communicate directly. Here's my email, let's shoot the shit and get this going. And Davison, the letterer who works on my book, who's just awesome. I met him on there, and we've had, a kinship for I don't know how long now, just from that website. So hopefully it comes back up. If it does, I'll shoot you a link for sure.
Nice. Yeah. And the illustrator I do work with, though, he does do work on or he does have stuff on Deviant Art or Deviant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So you can find him on there as well. Man, I think he also is actually a regular 9 to 5 job is being an illustrator for, I think, a newspaper down there in Mexico.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So, but he's been, really great to work with. So I actually really got lucky with him, and he's actually kind of like helping me out in terms of like making it more possible to like reach the goal, my funding goal on the Kickstarter. He's, let's say he's helping me out in terms of like, making it financially more reasonable. So I appreciate that. Yeah. So, that'd be cool.
Yeah, I kind of wish we had the ability to share the, I'd look up the Deviant Art and show a couple of his pictures, unless he does real deviant art.
Yeah.
But so that's when you getting that? Hoping to get that out.
Yeah, hopefully February 1st. So get it running for 35 days. I mean, maybe that's a little bit long, but I don't know. I figured that I'll probably need at least that much time. But the goal is not too big. It's going to be $900. So I think that's should be hopefully possible to reach. But it's a lot more doable than the original goal, where I was thinking like it might be $1,800. At one point, it might be even like $2,000. But I was able to get more pages done before then, and like I said, Miguel's kind of helping me out in terms of making it just more financially possible. So so I was able to drop the goal to 900. So hopefully that happens. But if not, I'll still get it put out. It just will take longer.
That's definitely doable, man. You'll get it. You'll get it out there for sure.
Yeah, maybe it's one of those things that you think like, not that I thought like, when people start like finding out like I'm doing this thing, anyone, everyone's going to care, but it's like amazing. It's like, yeah, no, you might think people care, but more people don't care than you realize sometimes.
Oh no, for
when
sure.
You're doing stuff. It's like,
for sure, man. I mean, it's a huge ocean of books and stuff out there, so it's hard to grasp people's attention and get them directed towards your project, but I'm sure it'll happen, man, for sure. I mean, there's a lot of people out there. It seems like you've been making the rounds and talking to people about getting on shows, and everybody seems pretty open to having you on and getting the word out, and I think that's like a big thing, you know what I mean? I'm still learning about this stuff. I'm not saying this from a point of serious knowledge, but from everybody I've seen that has their stuff, at least get funded fairly well, is just getting out there and getting their name out there and getting their face out there and doing the promo streams.
Yeah, I got a few lined up for next week. I was telling Crenshaw that I did one last night it was a quick one. It didn't go quite as the way I wanted to, but I still did it. So yeah. I got a few next week, so we'll see what happens.
Nice.
Yeah, gonna get a little more used to talking about myself. So I don't know. Never been a big fan of myself.
Hey, same here, man. Every morning I wake up and talk shit in the mirror to myself. So
yeah.
I don't stop at the morning mirror.
It's awesome.
So yeah, that's I actually probably should get that link if that website ever comes up, because at some point I might finish a story and
you're definitely story, man.
It seems like you do some drawing of your own. Is it something you could probably illustrate yourself, or
nah. I like a lot of people who like comics started actually I think I started drawing earlier than that, like when I was a kid in school, like I was the guy that people would ask to draw their trucks. Like, can you draw a truck for me?
Oh yeah.
And they, it was like fourth grade truck quality. It wasn't, but and then that
somewhere.
Yeah, but I did. I mean, like when I was like 14 or 15, I bought a draft table, like a drafting table, and I had a setup down in my room in the dark basement, and I was drawing every day, but never could get past the human form. You start drawing a table, and I'm out. Like it's like all the taking a ruler out and getting the perspective down and stuff like that. You lost me there. That's tedious.
For sure. There's a lot of good books on that stuff, but it is tedious. But once you crack it, like anything else, you know what I mean? It becomes second nature. But yeah, dude, perspective is always like a pain in the butt, dude.
Yeah. But isn't it like, I think I've heard something once, like Todd McFarlane, like he drew hands like 10,000 times or something. Like he wouldn't stop drawing them or something like that. Like because he's having trouble with them, and so that's all he drew for like ever.
Exactly.
Before he could start to like really get it down.
Yeah, it's like anything, I guess. You know what I mean? Just same thing with like you were talking about going on shows. Like the first one might not have gone the same, the way you wanted it to, but the more you do it, the easier it'll get, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely like it's. I mean, I don't know if it's easier or not, but like, I mean, as a youngster now, I mean, you got like YouTube out there, so there's just so much more like to help you out and like orientate you and get you started on anything you want to learn, which is pretty cool. Which, like when we were younger, you just had to, go with books or something. Yeah. Maybe there was like a VHS tape or something, but those were god awful.
Yeah, it's insane, dude. You're so right. Like nowadays with all the tutorials and like the artists that are out there just doing like live streams and I mean, everything, everything's on you. I mean, I fixed my AC, would have cost me like, I think $800, ended up costing me $15 because of YouTube. So
that's crazy. That's awesome. Yeah.
And an interesting thing about that is ask anyone in like their 20s if they have a problem where to look. None of them will say YouTube. Old guys like us, we go to YouTube looking for answers. They just go on for entertainment, purely entertainment, and they don't, I had, I have teens in my house, and they ask a question, hey, how do you do this? Or I need something fixed on my car, and I'll say, look it up on YouTube, and they look at me like, what are you talking about? Like, no, you can get the answers there, and they never do. So
that's pretty funny, yeah.
How's the fights going?
We got Jerry and Hill fighting right now. It's first round. He might have gotten hit in the nuts right now, but yeah, no, it's going okay. Yeah, man, YouTube is YouTube for the art stuff, and even for I'm sure it has everything for comic stuff, for writing, and that's where I found one of the Jolly. I don't know if you guys know Jolly Green.
Oh yeah,
great dude. He's a little MIA right now, but he turned me on to a printing company that I'll be using to print my books as soon as my tax return comes. But they have a bunch of videos on YouTube, and I'll send you guys a link later on. But yeah, it's a great company, and it looks like they aren't that expensive either, which is nice, man. Because a lot of these companies, these printing companies that are over here in the States, man, are just so pricey, dude. It's insane. But yeah, found some good videos on YouTube. I'll shoot to you guys later as well. Some old guy stuff.
Okay, cool. But because you've used was it Maxim or Mixim before?
Mixim? Yeah, I did, and they were good. But it's just I'm not getting the bang for my buck. I keep my projects pretty low on cost because I just want to get them out there. You know what I mean? But I want to have a surplus of books to sell, and it's one of those things where with Mixim it wasn't really cost effective because with each campaign I still put my own money in, even though that's why I keep it low. For the books I don't really charge too much, I don't think. And then on top of that, I like to I usually put some of my own money in, and this time around it looks like I'll be having some surplus of books, which will be nice to sell at cons and whatnot. So, but yeah, Mixim was good. Like nothing against them, but I need my money to go a little further. Everybody's money to go a little further with the printing, and I think this other company, Quinn Plus, I think it's called. I'll have to look it up, but but yeah, for sure, I'll shoot that y'all's way because it just seems like the way to go.
In terms of them, like, so they're overseas, but them like shipping them to you is not much.
No, shipping. The shipping doesn't seem. It's even with the shipping, it still ends up being cheaper for more books than it would.
Really?
mix them. So it's it's definitely the way to go. And they do Common America's books, if I'm not mistaken.
I know.
If you guys know who they are.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's like an American anime, American manga series that's out. Looks great. The books come out looking great. And I'm sure there's a couple other people that use them as well. But yeah, it just seems like it's the way to go, man.
Right,
I mean, that's the whole. At least that's my perspective on crowdfunding. Is not, dude. Would it be great to get like one of those huge, you know what I mean, like 100,000, 10,000, even 10,000, even 5,000. But I know, that's a big ask. But I just want to have a campaign that funds with enough money for me to kick in my own cash as well to get a decent print run that I can sell later on as well. So these guys are definitely the way to go for that.
Yeah, and I think so far I've kind of had, just because it's my first time around, sort of a somewhat narrow perspective, but the guys I was talking to last night on the stream last night, they're talking about like, oh, if you get, extra books, start up, storefront, like on, Fund My Comic or something like that and things like that. And just hadn't thought of that, but, granted, I don't know if I'll have extra books or anything. I mean, I gotta, see if I can even just get one book printed at this point, but, I gotta start thinking that way.
For sure. Yeah.
Do you have a storefront going, or are you?
I don't. The Fund My Comic is still open. The Indiegogo's closed. What I'm doing is when I print the books for the people who bought the books, they get a little bit of extra stuff. Like there's an extra artwork on the back cover. Then everything after that will be printed without anything extra on the back cover. So it's not really exclusive to that campaign. So that way nobody's going to feel bad about me selling it for, $1 cheaper and not on the websites, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So no, I would love to. I mean, the whole goal is to have, I was telling Crenshaw, this is 2024 was sort of a bitch for me. A lot of, woe is me, who cares? But I really want to make 2025 really shine by getting, my website up. I've had the domain for a while. I'd like to get a store. But I definitely want to launch on Fund My Comic again. Those guys are great. Luke was awesome. But I think the storefront's a great idea, but I'd like to have my own, site where you can just come and get that stuff from there, still fund and crowdfund on those websites. But I think the storefront's a great idea. That he has a great, great thing going on over there for creators, man. So, the storefront seems good.
And he really, really cares. Like he's really into the whole, making sure he's talking to people on X and stuff and being a part of that indie thing,
Oh, for sure. Yeah, which is awesome, man. I love that whole aspect of the community, and he's definitely a big proponent of people putting out their own stuff and giving them, his website to do so with I think a smaller fee too that's taken off of the book.
I was wondering about that.
Yeah, he just, I think it's like a cheaper fee, and I think he has something else too, where if you launch on his first without any other, there's some type of promotion he does where if you launch on Fund My Comic without actually having it on anything else, or at least launching there first, he gives you some other deal as well. So, but yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, I'll definitely be looking into it. Like, I just went with Kickstarter, but partly because like, one of the first illustrators I was working with, she had already done like a bunch of Kickstarters, and that's how she was, trying to like make her name. Granted, like it didn't like really work out with us because she had a bunch of other things going on anyways. And also I just thought like, Kickstarter is like one of the bigger, well-known, sites. So, this is kind of just like where I sort of landed, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, sadly, the thing with like Kickstarter and Indigo, people have their teams with those.
Yep, like everything. It's crazy.
And so, I think one of the things with like Fund My Comic is that it is that odd man out that might get people from both sides.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's that weird, I'll never use Kickstarter. I'll never use Indiegogo thing. And I don't get it. I just want the comic,
Yeah, it's kind of funny.
For sure.
on X there was like a thread like wonder, like, oh, like why do people say they won't support a comic because it's on this crowdfunder or this crowdfunder, shouldn't they just care more about the book itself and that sort of deal. But yeah, I mean, I guess there are people who just won't do it, so for whatever reasons they have.
Let's talk about your story. What's basic, what's your pitch? What you got going
on? Yeah. I mean, so I've been sort of like advertising it as like an episode of Seinfeld directed by David Lynch. But when I say that, because it is, I mean, I guess sort of Lynchian because, there is kind of like real life event, a real world event, which is basically a class reunion that's happening. But none of the participants set it up. And so they're kind of, even confused as they get there and kind of wonder, but it's like kind of like, well, they're a bunch of kind of scumbags and like, well, we like to party anyway. So that's why, they're kind of showing up. As they, show up, things aren't kind of right. And, things sort of unfold and some, surreal things sort of happen. But there's a sort of antagonist that shows up who kind of MCs the event. None of them know who he is. But he sort of has kind of power over them. And while he sort of kind of kidnaps them or has them there, these series of plays play out in front of them that kind of shows their past sins and past regrets. But then, as it unfolds, different things happen to different people. And then later on, like, so it's a 4-part series. So this is just issue 1 that's launching.
Okay.
And so as it goes on, you kind of see the machinations as to how this event happens, like who's behind it and why.
So in each part, will there be a different play going on, or is the plays like something that flows through?
So yeah, so with this, the first issue, it's everyone sort of arriving. You kind of meet all the characters. You kind of see what they're about. And then at the end, so the antagonist comes around and gets introduced. And then in 2 and 3, the kind of plays happen and, their past sins are kind of revealed. And then issue 4 is you kind of see, how this all came about and why.
Okay. Inspired by David Lynch then?
No,
Okay.
like I said, yeah, it's like a flash fiction piece I wrote. So the flash fiction piece, not to get, but the title of the flash fiction piece was called oops, I gotta plug in my computer. 1 second, guys, sorry.
Oh, no worries. You should have said yes, RIP, and
yeah, I know. Well, I'll tell you about that in a sec. Oh, sorry, let me do this real quick.
No worries. I have a confession to make about Dave Lynch. Oh, you got your thing filled out too. But while you're
sorry about that.
No worries. While you're busy with that, I don't know much about David Lynch. I have been looking at people's posts and stuff, and I think Lost Highway might be the only thing I've seen from him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, didn't he do the was it the Elephant Man too, or no?
Maybe. I do not know. I know he did what was the show? Twin Peaks was his, right?
Twin Peaks, Mulholland Drive, I remember. That was a weird one. It was fun though.
I'm gonna put this up so it's not glaring.
Yeah.
Yeah, have you seen Mulholland Drive?
No.
It's a wacky one, man. It's worth checking out at least one time.
Yeah.
I like Lynch. It's not like, it's not I wouldn't say it's in my repetitive wheelhouse. But and Dune, yeah, that's right. I remember Dune. He did Dune, right? But yeah, definitely weird.
Yeah, I mean, I remember seeing Lost Highway and not understanding what the heck was happening. But it had a really rad soundtrack. So
right. Yeah, that Smashing Pumpkins song wasn't a Zero.
Was that on there? Well, I remember that's the first I heard Rammstein.
Oh, Rammstein, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
They were on there. And I'm pretty sure 9 Inch Nails was probably on there. It just feels like it.
I know that was one of those, yeah. those like late 90s soundtracks. The 90s had a lot of good movie soundtracks.
Yeah.
That's funny we were talking about that.
Yeah. Where were you when you?
Oh yeah, so I was talking about the inspiration. So I mean, in terms of like following it, no, it's not as like convoluted as like a David Lynch story. It's definitely follow. You can follow it. It's just what happens. Some of the things that happen in it are surreal. At least like the plays that take place and stuff. But the inspiration, like I said, is based on a short fiction piece that I wrote some years ago, and it was published. But the flash fiction piece was called "The Everlasting Meal and the Disappearance of the Sun," and that's actually one of which I incorporate as one of the plays that happens within the comic book, and I incorporated into the short story. But that's what led me into like writing the short story that the comic book's based on. And so basically, like I take the short story and I broke it up into 4 pieces, due to the word count of the short story being like at 500 words. And so, yeah.
Just because you seem to like horror movies and stuff, is that a genre you're really into? Are you a horror guy?
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. I mean, like it's kind of like like I've read a lot of science fiction in my time, so it's like I appreciate the really good stuff, but like get pissed at the bad stuff. So it's like the good stuff I appreciate. I mean, like, but I don't like worship it like some people do. Like like I appreciate it, but it's not like my everything be all. This story, you could even say like even if you're not a fan of horror, you may still like it because it's. One thing I was definitely aiming for with this comic book is that it's an adult story, and like for mature audiences, but not because of like sex and violence, just because it's like a comic book that a 12 or 13-year-old shouldn't be able to pick up and be like yeah, I relate to this, like it's like an adult should be able to pick it up and say, oh, I relate to this, because it's like about past regrets and past sins and just about adult situations in terms of like what adults deal with. So I just wanted to write more of an adult sort of an actual adult comic book, not something that's just says that it's an adult, but then it's just reads like, who goes there? Oh,
yeah.
That?
Or it reads like a 12-year-old, 13-year-old boy's idea of what an adult comic.
There's plenty of that, unfortunately.
Just pure violence, as much as you can, and then as much sex as you can too.
Yeah.
That's like the issue 3 of Toma Reckoning.
All right.
Well, it sounds like a great story, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I mean, I hope it kind of like translates. I mean, I think definitely like, obviously, it being, a piece that I wrote as a short story and so forth. I mean, I am making drastic changes in terms of making it more visually interesting and not following it directly. So I'm adding stuff and taking away things as well. So, that doesn't mean anything to anyone because they haven't read the short story. But I definitely have like the visual orientation for it and so forth, and definitely making sure that it's entertaining and not just a slog to get through or anything just because I'm saying it's a mature read.
Yeah. How is it, having just being a writer, just writing, short story stuff versus dealing with an artist?
Oh, it's been not too bad. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, I'm grateful to like have the guy I'm working with, and so it's like there is I know like it can't be like ideal, like because obviously like I can't draw it myself, so obviously I can't.
Yeah.
If I could draw it myself, that'd be amazing. But I know like there's gonna be that communication where he's gonna see it one way, and that's fine. I guess we can just kind of meet in the middle, which is great. But it's also cool to just have another perspective as well.
Yeah.
And and I get like yeah, I'm paying him to do a job, but at the same time, like you know, I mean, he's an artist, and so I mean, he has to have like, you know, his input and it has to be interesting to him.
Yeah.
And so it's like, you know, I can't be like a dictator about it or anything like that. I mean, it has to be a kind of, you know, sort of co-pilot, you know, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's interesting, but I think so far it's worked out. I mean, I'm happy with what I see. I think this first issue isn't like quite in terms of like the horror aspect or the darkness that it becomes. So I think like the second issue will probably work a little bit towards like maybe, you know, more grayscaling and so forth in terms of the imagery, like making it a little darker than this first issue is in terms of like the visuals. But
Yeah. Well, you know, have you considered AI at all for making a comic? 'Cause I hear that's a really popular idea.
yeah, it's funny. Like, I've like messed around with AI even just like in terms of writing, like just to see like what it comes up with. It's just the most generic garbage you can think of. It's just like, oh, okay, like this would be cool if you want to make like a really bad soap opera, like not even like a good soap opera, but like a bad soap opera, you know, at best, if that. Like,
it's only getting so much better though, dude. And
yeah,
like,
yeah.
as an artist,
oh, okay.
I think it's really disrespectful that I think it's awesome. I think like if you're a writer and you don't have the capability to draw, or it gets pricey, dude, you know, for artists. So I don't think there's anything wrong with somebody using AI to, I know this is probably here, you know, a terrible thing to say, but yeah, dude, I mean, you know, it's do it, you know, it's only going to get better. And when it does, if you can use it as a writer to illustrate your book, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. So hopefully one of these days, I mean, I might start illustrating my book with AI. But like, yeah, I hope it gets better for people, man. And it's only gonna get better. I mean, think about where we were, you know, not even a year ago to what is capable with AI now, you know, with videos and this and that. So the illustrative aspect of it's only going to get better too. So
yeah, no, I'm sure.
I wonder if there's, you know, a balance of using it. You know, will the technology get to be good enough that your input is more important than the conglomerate of information? So it becomes more personal. It becomes more of a,
right.
you know, my vision instead of
Scour
that. Yeah. Because as far as I can tell, all the, you know, you hear like a commercial that's written by AI, and you can hear it. You could just hear in the sentence structure,
right?
And you know, and or the art, you see it and you know it, and it's because it is pulling from everything, and so it becomes just kind of like this obvious conglomeration of middle of every, you know, popular. It becomes the mid popular, you know. And you know, will there be a time where it will really be more, you know, personalized, and you could see someone's work and say, oh, that's so and so's AI work, I really enjoy his stuff?
I think it has to, you know what I mean? I think it's only going to get better. You know what I mean? It's not going to get worse. So I think that's probably the next step where, like you're saying, you know, it's you're going to be able to tell, you know, with somebody's input that it's, you know, at least that's what I'm thinking. You know, I mean, it's like, you know, I can't see how it's going to get any worse. It's going to get to the point where it's just going to be another tool, you know. I mean, as you know, not, you know, I mean, I'm not trying to think like an old man, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, you know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people are like, oh, it's not going to, dude, it's going to get better. I mean, you know, I started playing out video games on an Atari, you know what I mean? And now the PS5 looks, you know, insane. And that was, you know, such a long time to get to that leap. Whereas AI right now, from where it started to where it's going to go, I think you're absolutely right. It'll be one of those things where it's going to have a style based on whoever's doing the input, you know?
Yeah.
Where's that leave us though? Just consumers?
Well, no, I mean, I think writing is still going to be, and I still think art is going to be a thing too. I don't think that's going to negate, you know, the human touch. I think there's going to be people who are doing traditional stuff, whether, even if they're using computers, just traditional artwork and writing, because I don't think it's gonna take away from that, but I think it'll be a nice tool for people who maybe can't draw, to bring their wordsmithing to life. I don't think it's going to negate that. I don't think it's going to be where everybody's just reliant on that stuff. Maybe this is the old man thinking, but I think it'll just be another tool. I mean, I don't think it's going to really just send us to the dinosaur age, where we're fossils, relics of an old time. But I think it's just going to be like anything else. It'll be a tool. There's still people that draw, on pencil. For the longest time, I was drawing with pencil and paper until recently. And I never thought I'd go digital, but it's actually nice now because I got the little kids running around. I can't have my ink well out, and so I think it's just I think that's probably, I think that's what it'll do. But what do I know? I'm an idiot, dude. Don't listen to me. I don't know.
I think it's one of those things. I mean, we make predictions, and then it just turns out to be something different, anyways.
Right.
As always. So it's just, I mean, it's probably going to be a little bit of everything, but yeah. I mean, hopefully it is just another tool. That would be the best thing.
For sure.
Yeah, it's like, also there's always going to be a place for the, traditional pen, paper artist, even if it becomes a specialized, people are paying how much money for, paintings and, for original comic art,
Exactly.
Right, that's true.
And it becomes a different market at that point, that you're shooting for. So who knows? And also video killed the radio star, but I don't see very many videos nowadays.
Yeah,
so it might just roll back around.
That's pretty funny. Yeah,
but
that's true. Well, it's like, I mean, even things like, I know I don't know if it's just a Gen Z thing, but like typewriters are like sort of like a thing again now. Where like a lot of young kids are into typewriters, and it's just like, okay.
And record players too, right?
Yeah. I mean, maybe they're just, I don't know if they're using the typewriters, but they're like a hot commodity at the moment.
That's awesome.
So
that's having kids. I mean, I did it when I was, teens or whatever. Go to a thrift store and you see like a Super 8 camera.
Oh yeah.
And like, there's something about the Super 8 camera where you're like, oh man, I need to have that. I want to.
One right here.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's what I learned when I was. I went to my undergrad. I was a film major, and so I shot a lot of Super 8 back in the day.
Nice.
I still have quite a few Super 8 cameras.
Yeah, I had one. Like I said, I went to the old thrift store, and there was one there, and it's like, being a comic book writer or artist was just in a long list of various entertainment things that I wanted to do and never stuck with. That's one of my big problems, is not sticking with things once they become hard. It's just the opposite of what you were saying earlier. Like, you just keep going. I'm like, I don't know, if breathing became hard, I might think about stopping. But I tried. I bought a Super 8 camera because I was like, I'm gonna make cool indie movies like Kevin Smith. But or stop motion animation, because Wallace and Gromit was out at that time too. Like,
oh geez. No, thank you. That seems, I mean, it's amazing that those guys do that stuff, but God, that seems so tedious, man. I definitely wouldn't be able to do that. That's crazy. I mean, the end effect would be awesome, but oh my gosh, I couldn't imagine. I would be skipping so many frames. That would be horrible.
My son wants to do, like, we do a few of those, like do like Godzilla ones with his like Godzilla action figures.
Oh, awesome.
But it's like, I don't do it the way it's supposed to. It's like, hey, just move it further. It ends up being like a 2-second movie. It's just like, all right, that's good enough.
That's a half an hour out of my day, kid.
Yeah, but he's happy with it, so it works out. And you should check out the new Wallace and Gromit if you haven't watched it yet. It's really good.
Is there a new one?
Yeah, it was in the theaters, but it's on Netflix now.
Oh, okay. I got to look that up, because
the Were Rabbit again, or no?
Yeah.
Oh
no, that's the Were Rabbit. It's the one with the penguin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I forget what it's called, but the Rare Rabbit, that was like maybe 15 years ago.
That's right. Yeah, my kid
That's a
loves
good
that
one
one.
though.
It is a good one. Yeah, Wallace and Gromit's pretty funny, man. It's good stuff.
Yeah, it was really good. Yeah, Shaun the
That's
Sheep.
yeah. That's one of those. Uh, you walking through, Hastings or Blockbuster, and you're like, oh, what's this? And you pick it up, and you're like, oh, you watch it, and you're like, oh, that was amazing. It's
Mm-hmm.
funny, it's original, and all the work that went into it, just like really, really captured you. I love that stuff.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
It's the one that Phil Tippett, I think his name is, that just released it. It was like a passion project of his. I think that's his name.
Oh,
He used to work for ILM, I think. Mad God or something. I think it's a new.
is it the Full Moon guy?
No, I don't know if it's full.
Oh, okay.
What you mean Full Moon, like the movie company?
Yeah.
I don't know if he did Full Moon stuff. I'm pretty
Okay.
sure he worked on like the old Star Wars stuff, but he was
okay.
stop motion guy, and he made some. I think it's called Mad God, but
Okay.
it was like a new stop motion animation flick that he did. That's like decades in the making.
Yeah.
But I haven't gotten a chance to watch it. But I know you guys sound like you're into some of that
Yeah.
stop motion stuff.
Yeah, I think they talked about it. I don't know if you guys watch RL Red Letter Media.
Yeah.
On YouTube. Yeah, I think they mentioned it or talked about it. I think like when they were talking about they were doing reviews on the Puppet Master series.
Oh hell yeah, dude! Full Moon.
and they mentioned something about that guy, I think.
Oh, so maybe he probably did stuff on there, I would imagine.
If maybe not, or he had something to do with maybe the guy who was like ran Full Moon, or he had like a connection with the producer or the guy who was head of Full Moon Productions.
Yeah, Full Moon was awesome. I used to love them as a kid. The old VHS, like Bloodstone, those cheesy vampire movies. Yeah.
That's definitely some good stuff.
Mad God. Yeah, it's one of his last in 2021.
Yep. Yeah,
Okay.
that's the one.
Did he die before it finished? Was it like posthumous? Posthumous?
I don't know.
I don't know if is he dead?
Oh, maybe. I mean, let's not thinking of like something else, possibly. Maybe
Phil Tippett, if you're in the chat,
yeah, give us a sign.
My life
and then
flickered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's alive. He's 73.
Oh, okay. Then I'm sorry. I was thinking of something else. Okay, there's a similar story though. Then about a guy who's a stop motion guy who I think passed away, but they finished it posthumously, and so yeah, I should find out who that was. And it just came out not too long ago.
Right. So Dio, were you hard on the hour thing, or?
Oh no! I mean, I'll probably get off in a little bit just so I can. Cause I'm almost done with that book that I was working on. So just trying to bang that out. The girls go to bed. 7, 8, and then the wifey goes to bed around 10:30. So the nighttime is my time to be that creepy freak in the dark working on an iPad, getting our work done. It's just hard to get stuff done with the kids around. You know what I mean? Love them.
Yeah.
Nothing against them. But it's just hard to concentrate on that stuff and get it rocking. But no, I'm having fun shooting the doo-doo with you guys. So
yeah, I do got a question for you. Do you have so? I know you did other comics beforehand. So are your past comics available anywhere?
Oh no, I've just done. No, I haven't done comics beforehand. This is it. This is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is the first one I've done. I've done commission work for people and stuff, but nothing like crazy. And then the only other book that's seeing, I guess, the light of day would be the book that I'm working on for JD Gunter and Levi Skeen, and it's called Galaxy Memorial Park, and I'm just doing a 16-page stint in one of their books. It's like a flashback scene. Having a blast doing it. But I'm definitely open for more work. Definitely open for more work right now. but yeah, this is the only book I've really done.
Okay.
I had one thing published before in the Dave Cockrum tribute book, the guy who did stuff for the old X-Men stuff, and he's done a bunch of stuff. But one of the things he's most popular for was the new X-Men stuff. But I did a piece in one of those books. It was a tribute book for him where all the artwork was auctioned off to help him with his medical expenses, and it was like a Black Cat piece. But other than that, no, I haven't done much of anything. Yeah.
No. Okay. And how I know it was a Tome of Reckoning. Is it on book 3 or?
It's book 3 is done. It's just like I was telling Crenshaw behind the scenes. It was supposed to be, there was a lot of things. There was a lot of hiccups with this issue. The lettering took longer than expected just because his computer, shit the bed, which I feel bad for him because he had a bunch of stuff on his, he had to redo a bunch of stuff. And then by the time I got all the files in and ready to print, the place I worked at went under. So I'm actually unemployed right now, which is awesome. So that's why it's been a little bit longer putting this book out than usual. The first 2 books went out rapidly. But issue 3 is finished. I've been sitting on it for a while, which sucks because I just want to get it out there. I think it's a good book. And then issue 4 is almost done being colored. And I just got to get that lettered and then get that out. But everything's written. I mean, the whole series is written up. I just got to draw it out. But I guess the cool thing I'll be announcing in an email is that anybody that ordered book 3, since it took so long, will get a PDF of book 4 for free. And if they want to get the physical copy, they'll get like a 50% discount on the physical copy, since they've been so patient with everything, man. I just feel so bad just waiting so long. It's been a hell of a delay, but just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes, man. I just hope they can be willing to forgive me and see that I won't do that again with the next book. So next book, as soon as everything's ready, then I'm hitting start the campaign at that point in time. But yeah, book 3 is done. Book 4 is almost done. And then book 5, I'll be starting on as soon as I'm done with this commission right now.
How many altogether are you trying to?
The whole series would be like 30 books.
Okay.
But like the first series is 10. So it's like 10, 10, and 10. It's just something. It's the only thing I really want. I mean, besides doing commission stuff, it's the only thing I really want to work on. I don't think I'd ever. Not that I'd be good enough to do it. But I don't think I'd want to work unless obviously it's paying the bills. Let me just take that back, universe. But the only thing I'm really just passionate about working on is my own story, or a story that really gets my blood flowing. But yeah, it's just and I have a bunch of other stories too I'd like to tell. That I have short stories that I've written as well that I'd like to do as like 1 shots or 2 shots. But yeah, this is my love, is the Tome of Reckoning. It's just been something I've had since I was a kid, and finally narrowed it down to what it should be and what I want it to be thematically, and I think my artwork is gotten a lot better over now than it has been over the years. So I feel like I'm firing on all cylinders right now. So I just want to keep going with this thing.
Yeah. I got a question. Is the whole like 30 book series like mapped out?
Oh yeah. It's
wow.
Yeah, totally mapped out, man. It was one of those, on the spectrum type things, trying to put it together where it's just, for decades, and more so over the past like 6 years, just really, probably longer than 6 years, probably like 7 or 8 years, because I had a lot of time to myself where I was able to just put that effort into it and really narrow it down. And the wifey knows what it's about and she loves it. I mean, obviously she would tell me if it's she would. You guys don't know her, but she would tell me it would suck. She'd be like, "Yo, dude, seriously, give it up." But it brings a tear to her eyes when when I tell her, when she knows the whole story, but the end of it's just it's monsters and all this other shit, but it's all about familial relationships. That's where it's at its core. So yeah, it's all mapped out, ready to be drawn up. So yeah, I think things will go faster now too that I'm working on digitally, just because I don't have to ink. I don't have to draw something up and then ink it. I can just ink as I'm going digitally, and it's she says my pages are a lot cleaner now, so there's a lot of less erasing. So she loves that when she's coloring it. But but yeah, I just want to bang this shit out before I die.
Yeah,
So,
I know that feeling. Yeah.
okay, for real.
Yeah. And have you gotten to then not read any of Dio stuff yet, Stephen?
No, I think I've gotten, I've got maybe the first two.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I got the PDFs.
Awesome, man. Thank
So,
you, brother.
yeah.
And his wife does the coloring, does an amazing job.
That's
They
awesome.
really are good looking books. And,
Yeah.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that, dude. I really do. I can't wait to get issue 3 out because it's just, and then issue 4 is where I'm really, really at the level I'm at right now, artistically, and I just can't wait till people can see, because the first book is, I'm proud of them, but obviously it's not as, it's not my best artwork, and right now I'm just and I'm hard on myself. I still think I suck, but for me, it's my best version of myself. So I can't wait to get it out there, man. So
you kind of looking forward to that day when you can have all 30 issues combined in like an omnibus.
100%, dude. 100%. I just want to crank it out, and just and really and get it out there. Because even if I wasn't putting it out there for anybody, I would just be doing it for myself, just because I just want to do it. I just love this world. It's one of those things that I really enjoy the characters and just get lost in it, and hopefully other people enjoy it, as well. So yeah, it's been fun.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, I didn't realize it was that long of a story, so that's cool.
Yeah, it's not to give anything. Yeah, it's different time periods. It's it's a whole thing, man. But I going back to what we were talking about, the whole image era. I was always looking for a book like this, and I know there's books out there like this. I'm not reinventing the wheel, but it's in my voice, and it's just one of those things where, like, I don't know if you guys remember Wetworks.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
the comic. Yeah. I was hoping that would be something along the lines of this type of story, but it's more, super heroic stuff, where I just wanted to do like a love letter to all the horror stuff I loved, without like the boom pow. You know what I mean? Like there's some, there's heroics in this stuff, but it's not like superhero-y. So yeah.
Do you think you would just based on your personality and genres of choice, do you think you could write a superhero story?
I think I could. I don't know if my heart would be in it, especially. I think I'd like to think I could. I've written some stuff for other people, story wise, that it's along the lines of that stuff. I don't think if they did anything with it, but it was stuff I'd be proud of. I think I could do it. I think I could do like a wholesome. I think I could do it. Yeah, because I loved superheroes growing up. I sort of fell out of the comic superhero stuff, not because of any weird stuff that's going on now. It just sort of got convoluted to me. It was always like an event, and when I was growing up with the comics, it was like an event meant something, whereas now it's like, dude, how many fucking, pardon my French, Civil Wars can you do? How many Avengers versus X-Men? I love the fact that you could like I love the Sin Eater story in Spider-Man back in the day. It was one of my favorites, and that was like sort of a grounded, it was dark, but I just loved even just the cheesy, fun stuff of just it led to something, but it was just like each issue was just like a fun little episode of a TV show. As now it's just like, it's just so, I don't know, man. I just can't get into like a million Spider-Man, dude. Give me a break. It lessens the brand, and just like honestly, it looks like it's always an event and it's always a reboot. In the past like 5 years, I've seen like how many different times are they going to reboot this shit? And like, Ultimate X-Men or Ultimate Universe. I'm not even paying attention to it, but I guess there's a new Ultimate Universe, and it's like, is that connected to the old Ultimate? It's too much, man. It's too much. I don't know. And I don't know what the answer is to that. But yeah, I think I'd like to. I think I would be able to write one. I just don't know if my heart would really be in it.
Yeah. The story that I sent you, that's kind of like as close to a superhero story as I could come.
It's good though, dude. It doesn't give me that cheesy superhero stuff. You know what I mean? It's and I wouldn't even. I think it's more along the lines of something like Darkman. Than it is. You know what I mean? Like, but with like, tone wise, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And that's a superhero story, but that was like, done before, like a lot of these other people were doing like all these, other, uh, uh, versions of that type of superhero stuff on film.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think yeah, your story's fun, dude, from the first issue. But I
Thanks.
definitely, I see it as a superhero thing, but not as I see it as a unique superhero thing. Like I said, dude, like I still have visions of like scenes in that book, um, that that would be one of the things I'd like to draw.
Oh,
Um,
nice. Okay.
but yeah, no, I think it's a kick-ass story. But it's when I think of like superhero stuff now, I think of like it's just something I'm not interested in. But that definitely,
Yeah.
that caught my attention, dude. I loved it. I burnt through it how many times? The
Oh,
first time just to go through it, and then a couple other times just to really soak it in. So I think it's a cool story.
oh, well, thanks. Yeah, no, like, but like, superhero wise, like I was telling you last week, I kind of moved out of the superhero stuff fairly quickly in the comic book world, and going into the indie stuff where it's a lot more personal stories,
Mm-hmm.
smaller scales, like even the action comics, your Usagi Yojimbo.
Yep.
It was, it's much smaller than the big, bombastic superhero stuff. And so that kind of thing, but I'm like, if I was to write a story, I'd kind of want it to be a superhero story because that's still what catches people's attention for the most part.
Right.
So, what about you, Steve? Is there like beyond your current, book you're working on, is there any sort of superhero, you know, uh, future?
I don't know about super. I mean, I definitely have like other things I've written. I think that could be translated into like a comic book. Like I definitely have like a screenplay that I think would work as a comic book, which is also horror, but I think it would be a cool comic book though, at least visually speaking. And I think it's a cool story too. I do have like the short story though that's about old people that I think which is more comedy humor, which I'd actually like to do as maybe a one shot or maybe two-parter series. I actually would like to pursue if this one is successful. It's about old people living in like a senior living facility. But some shenanigans happen, and so I mean, I think that could actually work as a pretty cool comic. I don't know what audience, if they need an audience for that, but
Yeah. If it's written well and it catches someone's interest, yeah, of course it is.
And it's one that it did get published a couple of times in two different spots. So I mean, it did have some success, and I think it could work, but it'd just be maybe a hard sell. But I mean, in terms of like, comic books, like, I was getting back in, reading, and, a couple years ago. I mean, I was more attracted to like kind of Daniel Close kind of stuff and maybe like Charles Burns stuff. And so not so much like the superhero stuff, just more like the more humorous sort of stuff. And, maybe the closest thing to like a superhero thing that I was reading was Second Coming Trinity from like Ahoy Comics. I don't know if you guys ever read that.
No, I don't think I've heard of it.
That's where like Jesus kind of meets like Superman, sort of like they live on Earth at the same time. Just kind of form like a friendship, but it's not really superhero. It's just them like living together, like on the planet together at the same time, and it's pretty fun. It's well written, too. So it's sort of that kind of stuff, just more a little bit more. More left field kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, like, if I could come up with a cool superhero, I mean, that's the thing. It's just like, all the superheroes, are kind of just the same. So it's just, that's the difficulty, is coming up with an original superhero that's, just not another Batman, another Superman.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the hard part.
Yeah. Last night I was watching Julius Freeman's show he does.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
They started talking about they were doing a review of Absolute Batman.
Oh, yeah. the big hulking Batman. Yeah.
Yeah, Absolute Batman, Absolute Wonder Woman, the new Absolute, I guess, universe or whatever they're building. And hearing them talk a little bit about it, my thinking was, why didn't they just release new characters?
Yeah, dude, that's my whole issue with like the comic industry, which goes back to the point of like just how many Spider-Man can you do? And it's like, yeah, just do, but because they know if it doesn't have that bat symbol or that Superman crest on it, it won't sell. It's just like it's just that branding. Same reason we get a bunch of the same movies over and over again. But to that same point, that's why comics are so awesome to me, is that there can be so many different stories, like your story, Crenshaw, like your story, Steven, that are so different from each other, just like movies, like indie flicks and whatnot. There's just so many different venues you can take these stories where it doesn't have to be the same thing. But yeah, dude, like why not just rebrand it as another character and try to hope that sells? But yeah, it's people seem to be enjoying that story, but I just it's just like it's a different Batman. It's like it's not you know what I'm saying.
If they were worried about the branding portion of it, though, they could have just made these characters as new characters in the DC universe, introduced them in a Batman story,
right?
Yeah,
and now you got this new kick-ass vigilante running around.
Yeah, exactly. In Gotham, interacting with Batman at some point in time or something. But,
yeah.
I mean, that's what they kind of did in the 90s when they were introducing all the, I mean, a lot of them didn't succeed, but when the Dark Hawks were being introduced and the Sleepwalkers and all those, like the second issue Spider-Man would appear and so forth. So they'd use, those bigger characters to come, swing into the second issue and third issue to, kind of sell those new comics.
Yeah, I'd love to see Sleepwalker again, like the green and purple dude. He was awesome. Like the alien face. Like he still sticks. Like that's something I think. Like put him in a show or a movie, or you know what I mean, like or a show more likely than a flick. But it's like even Dark Hawk, like that was a cool character. I could still see him. Like I think taking a chance on those characters just seems like I mean, it's the house of ideas for Marvel or whatever DC's catchphrase is. But like, just throw some shit at the wall, see what sticks, dude. Like, it's not gonna hurt. It's not like they're raking in bucks and like what I mean, making millions of dollars making these books anyway. It sounds like they don't make shit on them, and the movies and all that other stuff and the merchandising is where the money comes from. So just like take a swing, man. See what you guys can come up with.
Yeah, because I can't imagine even if like the Absolute series of characters does well in the comics world, that it's going to translate into a lot of merchandising. Because people still want the old Batman.
Exactly.
People still want Superman that looks like Superman. So who knows like how that's going to work out for them? But yeah, like try something new. Yeah, that's how we got Deadpool, and everyone loves that freaking guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Rob Liefeld went in there and gave him free reign to make up some crazy stuff, and he went wild, and everyone loved. Even if the characters weren't as well defined as they are nowadays, just the look. Got everyone's attention. And that Absolute Batman, he's a cool looking character.
Yeah. The costume's cool. I mean, even the hulking. I like the art style they are using on it, though. I like that they're not going with like the traditional DC house style, where it's a little bit more stylized and some like it almost looks like Tim Sale mixed with maybe quietly. No, but Tim Sale's what really makes it looks like Tim Sale's all artwork to me. Which is it's cool, man. Like do something different. But yeah, it's just I'm just so bored of like I think I know there's great stories being told out there that I'm just not reading. You know what I mean? And it's not and I know there's stuff that's trash that I'm not reading either. But I think yeah, it just seems so boring to me. It's just like all the same stuff over and over again. Even the movies I haven't been excited about any TV show or movie within the the comic book stuff. I am looking forward to the Superman movie actually. Just because it seems like it's tonally the character seems to be more along the lines of of what I grew up with.
Yeah.
You know, in the comics and you know in the movies with the Christopher Reeve stuff, but everything else is just it just doesn't do anything for me. I don't know.
Mhm.
But there's a lot of great stuff out there. You know what I mean? That's not comic book stuff that I do love. So
Yeah. I just watched surprisingly from Netflix, because most of the stuff that they put out, it's just not great. But what's it called? American Primeval.
it looks cool. I haven't seen it, but yeah.
But I just finished that series yesterday. It really is really solid, especially like I said for a Netflix show. They shooting on location, so they're really out there in the out here in the West somewhere, shooting these scenes, and then my very quick action, surprising. Having watched Horizon, Kevin Costner's movie, that's a very slow movie.
Yeah,
very slow movie. This one's
yeah. Oh, sorry. I was gonna say, I think I got 15, 20 minutes into that movie, and I was just like,
yeah. I finished the whole thing, and I just I kind of wish I didn't. I kind of wish I stopped when you did. But this series is the complete opposite. Like it is action, tension. Just things are happening. At a certain point, I turned to my wife and said, "The Old West was a lot more crowded than I've heard because they're constantly running into trouble."
No,
it's like it would have been. I feel like it would have been at least a couple of days before they ran into another human out there in the middle of nowhere. But at the end of it, though, like it really is a solid. If you get a chance, it's really good. I'm kind of in a way sad that there's only going to be one season, but it wraps up so well. Yeah, and the way they make seasons on these shows, like it'd be another 3 years, and then by then I don't care.
I was gonna say if it's successful enough, they'll definitely do a season 2, but it'll probably stink if it's forced. But that's good to know. It's funny talking about that though, because I think like the Western genre like is still sort of, as much as there's been like a lot of like Western stuff back in like 50s, 60s, and 70s, it sort of died off. But like right now I'm reading like this trashy Western novel called Bronx from like I think the 80s, and I thought it was going to be like just garbage, but I was like, oh, let me give it a shot, could be entertaining. It's actually like really good, and like the story is actually really good, and the writing's actually pretty good. Just like, oh, there's like maybe more to the genre, than I realize, at least in terms of like the novels and stuff. And it's even like, oh, maybe like I could think of like a Western story that because it just it's because just it being a genre I haven't like explored as much as other than maybe like the sort of like top tier things everyone knows, like Unforgiven and like Searchers and all that stuff.
What was that series that was an HBO series that was up for a while?
Deadwood.
I'd always been interested, never have watched it, but my wife recently was. I've taken to searching for old westerns to hopefully watch if she falls asleep and I can watch something, and she called me an old man because of that.
Is she not into westerns?
More so old movies.
Okay.
Yeah. She liked the like I said the Netflix show. She really enjoyed that, and it was, definitely it was frontier western even before a lot of towns were set up, kind of thing. But it's more so an old movie, which I've had some of that in my life where I haven't watched something because it looks a certain way. But I'm trying to get over that, which is why I'm looking up older westerns.
Yeah. I mean, I could definitely recommend the first season of Deadwood. Second season, stay away from. But don't recommend season 2. That's for sure. At least in my opinion. There's a lot of old westerns.
Yeah. Is Deadwood like? Would I, if I finish season 1, am I like, okay, that's a good story, I'm done? Or is it something where they're going to make me want to see what's going on in season 2?
Yeah, I think it's been a while since I've watched it. I think it did sort of not necessarily on a cliffhanger, but like you did want more just because it was so good.
Yeah.
But then like season 2, just like like it just lost whatever magic it had in season 1. It just doesn't feel like the same show. Yeah, there's a few series like that where it's just like, oh, like I don't know if you guys have watched which is completely like underrated, but The Nick. Did you ever see The Nick? It was on Showtime.
I know it, but I never saw it.
Yeah, first season's like one of the best things I've ever seen on television, and then like the second season's like, ugh, what the hell happened?
It's awesome.
Like the same thing with like Deadwood season 2. It's just like, oh my god. But if you ever watch the first season of The Nick, that's a really good show.
It's that I think it's the same thing as you hear a band's first album, you're like, this is rad. Yeah. The second album is like, no good.
Yeah.
And it's probably for the same reason. They spent so many years building up this story for the first season, like, oh, we got this idea, and then once it was popular, the studio's like, you got to rush out second season.
Yeah.
And so everything kind of falls off a little bit.
More money or something like that. Yeah.
And that might be like one of the reasons, some of the series like your House of the Dragon. What's the other one? The first one,
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones is that they did give him the leeway to have a couple years to. I guess it was also based on something that was already plotted out pretty well.
George R.R. Martin hadn't finished the books and still hasn't finished them, so they had to make it up as they went, which I guess didn't help.
Yeah, no, for real. It's funny. Sopranos, though, if we're talking HBO shows, is still to me top tier, man. I love that show.
Yeah, I've watched that one too many times. I think I've watched it at least 3 times.
Same here. I showed the missus that during COVID, and she's like, "Oh my god, that show is amazing." I'm like, it's funny. It's everything, dude. Sopranos was such a great show, dude.
Yeah, I do skip season 1 though. I don't usually bother with season 1 because it's doesn't really take off until like season 2. Yeah,
because it's like it's total setup in season 1. Yeah, you're absolutely right. For sure. But everything afterwards is just like oh my god, dude, it's insane. Yeah, it's just rolls along.
Yeah, no, I definitely. It's one of those things funny because I actually just like watch it for the 3rd time, like maybe like the beginning of the fall, like maybe September, October, and like finished it again. And it's like, oh, just like last week or so, it's like, oh, maybe I'll watch it again. And it's just like, no, I can't waste that much time of my life with this one like TV show.
That's so funny, man.
See, that's another one. So that's another thing that I have not seen that I feel like I should have seen.
Oh, dude, watch it now, man. Jewel loved it, and I like I said, I'm jealous that you're getting to experience all these shows and movies and stuff for the first time. That's awesome. So if anything, dude, watch that show. I mean, what was it? Breaking Bad. I didn't watch that when it was out. I watched the first episode when it aired, and then I never watched it again. And then like years later, it was on Netflix, and this is when I was living by myself and had all this time, and I put that on. I was like, I'll just put this on while I'm drawing in the background. That didn't last. I just burnt through that. That's another show that was just great from beginning to end. And have you seen Breaking Bad, right, Crenshaw? No,
I've seen, I think 6 episodes, or maybe 5 or 6 episodes in that first season.
That's dude. Then you got 2 great shows. So how do you feel about Breaking Bad, Steven?
I do like it. I don't like it. It's not like I do definitely like it. It's definitely a good show. I wouldn't put it like up there. I mean, I do like Sopranos way more.
For sure. I think they had the leeway with being on HBO.
Yeah.
To be a little bit more. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, no. Like, I like The Wire more.
The Wire is a great show too, dude. Yeah. I used to live in Baltimore when they were filming it.
Oh, okay. Sweet. Yeah. I spent some time in Baltimore. I don't know when, but I think I was there before they started filming it, but that's cool.
Yeah. They were also filming, what were they filming in Baltimore? What was that show? Homicide? Remember that show? Homicide.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, Life on the Street. Yeah, also David Simon.
The restaurant. I was working at a Mexican restaurant at the time, and Yeah, I got to meet Richard Belzner.
Oh, really?
Well, because we had to like cater it, and like at that point in time, I tanned pretty easily from being Greek, and we used to have to wear these pepper shirts. And I remember when we got to meet, the cast or whatever. He's like, "Hi, I'm Richard Belzner. I play Detective Munch." And I was like, "Hey, I'm Dionysius. I play a Mexican Alistas." Got a good laugh from everybody, except for the owner. It was like, "What the fuck's that about?" I'm like, dude. I mean, everybody always thinks I'm, Hispanic. They did before. Now I'm pasty white and bald, but haven't seen the sun in a while. But yeah, that was my Richard Belzner story.
Nice.
But yeah, Baltimore, man. Yeah, that's what was that? The guy's strip club called, dude? Because it was right down the street from where I lived.
I mean, I only went to like the red light district once. Like there's.
Oh no, the guy owned because
okay.
it wasn't even like it was literally on the corner next to like a sub shop in Fells Point. It was like
okay.
It was like not one of these. It was but the guy the dude that ran the place. What was it? Idris Elba? Wasn't he the one that ran the strip club?
Oh yeah. Oh, dang it! I can't think of his name. It's like one word.
It is one word, yeah, dude. But yeah, that was like right down. So it's sort of funny. And Baltimore was like that at that point in time. It was like an open air drug market because the girl I was dating at the time was a social worker, and I used to have to drive her to like the other side of Baltimore, and like dropping her off, you would just see like lines of people just lining up for like drug dealers and shit, and cops driving by and not doing a thing because they couldn't. It was a crazy time back in Baltimore back then, dude. It was nuts.
Yeah. I was in Baltimore in 2000, so I don't know when you were there, but I was in and out though because I was doing an AmeriCorps program, and so I was actually living in Perry Point, Maryland.
Okay, yeah, I think I know where that is.
Yeah, it's like on the Chesapeake, right? Like,
the beautiful part of Maryland.
What's that?
The beautiful part of Maryland.
Yeah, there was not a whole lot there, but yeah, yeah, it was about I think maybe like 40 minutes away. Yeah, north of it. Yeah. So awesome. I was in and out of Baltimore because the year before that I was living in DC, also doing like an AmeriCorps thing.
DC, yeah, seen a lot of good shows there at the 930 Club.
Oh yeah, yep.
And the Capitol Ballroom too. Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, I used to go to the Black Cat all the time. The club Dave Grohl owns.
Oh yeah. That's funny, man.
Cat. Yeah, oh no, actually, yeah. I'm trying to think. I did see Fugazi play a couple times while I was in DC,
that's awesome.
Which was like in 2000, not too long before like they stopped playing. So which is funny because like you'd see Ian MacKaye like at all these shows all the time. And like I remember like the first time I saw him at a show, it just seemed like counter to like everything like he sort of believes and represents. He was like hanging out with this chick who was like all dolled up in this Hello Kitty gear. And it's just like, really, this is like the girl you're hanging out with, and like you're like Mr. Fugazi and Minor Threat, and
she's so funny,
all dolled up in Hello Kitty. It's like, okay.
That's awesome.
Funny. But he was like at like lots of shows. Like he went to like all these shows all the time, which was kind of cool. But
yeah, I mean that's his scene, that which is cool too, But yeah, that's awesome. There's a lot of good shows in DC. I remember seeing when I was in Baltimore. But dude, Crenshaw, you gotta watch Sopranos, bro.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever even started that one. Typically, I do have a habit of I'll start a show, watch a couple of episodes, and then just forget it exists. and not because whether I like it or not. Like, what's the show I told you to watch, Dio, about with James Brolin?
Oh, dude, I'm so pissed off about that, dude. That show was great.
Like Outer Range?
Yeah. Outer Range, yeah. Dude, they canceled it, bro.
Yeah. I watched that. I told you about the first season. I watched it, and like it's really good. I really enjoyed it. And then second season, and I even posted like, oh, the second season's coming. How excited! And then just forgot it existed.
Dude, the second season was so good. I can't believe they canceled that show. That show had so much potential, bro. I am so bummed that they canceled that, dude. Because we just finished the second season when it aired. And then there was an announcement. It's like, oh, we're canceling it. It's like, oh, great. Super. But you're going to put some other dumb shit on Amazon that nobody wants to watch, dude. It's insane. Yeah, that was a great show, dude. What a bummer.
Yeah. I got to catch up on that second season now.
You should. I think even though they canceled it, you should still watch it, man. It was just well written and just a cool sci-fi, on the range story with
Mm-hmm.
some Western aspects to it, obviously. But yeah, dude, it's so bummed they canceled that show, man. It sucks.
The writing and the acting were phenomenal,
dude. Yeah, for sure.
The in season 1, the prayer at dinner that he offers, where he's talking about the what you call it, there's a void, and he's just he's talking about a couple different things in his life, and his just that scene was like, yeah, that's some solid stuff. But
yeah, there's a lot of cool twists too, man. In season 2, man, I'm bummed they cancel that, dude. I'm hoping maybe somebody will write a petition. I won't, but God bless those people that do that stuff if it ever does anything. But yeah, that show was really good, dude. It's a bummer it was canceled, man. It sucks.
Yeah, but go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say, if you do decide to watch Sopranos, though, feel free to skip season 1, though, because it may not sell you on the show.
Yeah. I don't know.
It is a different show in the first season.
Would it be like watching Seinfeld's first season?
That's funny. Actually, it is. Yeah, that's pretty good, dude. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, completely different show than what it ended up being.
Right.
That's a great show.
Was it Seinfeld?
Oh yeah, dude, I love Seinfeld.
Yeah, the 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3 thing still pops into my head all the time.
Oh, the 3, 2, 1, 1. Which one's that?
Where his George's dad is taking anger management classes.
Oh yeah,
and he has to count backwards or something.
That's awesome.
But so it's about an hour and 40 minutes. I don't know if we want to let you go do some work, Dio, and get your drawing done before you pass out.
That's 100%. Yeah, I'm gonna get some stuff done. I got a couple more panels on this last page, and then I can hit the sack.
Good. Good. Ask you, Dio. Who's winning the Nurmagomedov Davalish wheelie fight?
Oh damn! You know what's I have it on, but I haven't been looking at it.
Okay.
Dude, that's funny. I will be watching. What round are they on? Is it the third?
4th
round?
Yeah.
Oh damn, dude! I don't know. They're both standing still, and they both look like they're still got a shit ton of energy.
Yeah,
so
it looks like it's a close fight.
It's crazy, dude. Yeah, I'm gonna get some drawing done and have this on in the background while the baby's crying for milk in the back. It's awesome.
All right. Well, I'll wrap this up. It was really great to talk to you, Steven. And
thank you guys for having me on. It was fun.
You too, Dio. And we'll
always a blast, brother.
I'll hit
Even
this
good
button.
to formally see your face, man. Next time I'll have some lighting on in here where I can actually have my camera on. It creeps it in the dark.
No problem.
All right. So if anyone's watching or gonna end up watching, have a good night. We'll talk to you later.
All right.
See you.